Whether competing in the NAIA, NCAA Division II, or Division I, a single aspect of Joey Haines' 38-year head coaching career remains constant: winning. Winning student athletes, winning teams. Haines began, like so many in his sport, as an athlete, throwing the javelin for Columbus College before transferring to Lipscomb in 1966. It was there that he would find his way into coaching other athletes. He spent his first year after graduation, 1970, as an assistant with the Bison. Then, after 1 year as head track coach at Franklin High School, he returned to Lipscomb and served as their head coach for the next 7 years. He took the lessons learned in Nashville with him to Austin Peay, where he would coach both the men's and women's squads from 1978 to 1982, before finally moving on to Southeast Missouri State. There, he had an almost immediate impact on the track and field program. 2 years after arriving in Cape Girardeau, Haines led his men's team to the 1985 NCAA Division II indoor team title. A runner-up performance in 1991 capped SEMO's final year in Division II. All told, his men's roster recorded 5 top 4 indoor finishes and a pair of national second-place showings at the Outdoor Championships, while claiming 17 individual titles in those 2 seasons. His women's team ran to similar heights at the national level. 10 individual champions helped power 3 finishes among the top 4 indoors and a 4th-place finish outdoors in 1991. As Southeast Missouri stepped up to D1 and the Ohio Valley Conference in 1992, Haines stayed in championship step. His men's teams have combined to win 6 indoor and outdoor OVC titles since 1995, with more than 100 conference champions, while the women's program racked up 14 OVC team crowns with another 100-plus conference champs. Of those more than 200 individual titles, 17 came in the javelin, the event Haines specialized in as a student athlete back at Lipscomb, where it all started. It's Joey Haines, Southeast Missouri, 2014 Coaches Hall of Fame inductee.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Haines.
Thank you very much. I'm very blessed beyond my wildest dreams to be added to our Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations to all the other nominees tonight. It's such an honor to go into the Hall of Fame with such great people. Lance and I go back to AIAW days when I was at Austin Peay. I convinced, we were Division I in men, and I convinced back then AIAW would allow you to be whatever division you wanted to in one sport. So I convinced my administration let us be Division II, since we had a Division II budget anyway, and not a Division I budget. And we hosted the AIAW Division II National Championships. And Lance, of course, his girls won. I'm pretty sure they won the women's. And you go back to Clarksville, Tennessee today, and the old timers still remember the 30 blind girls that he brought to Cape Girardeau that ran all over town in their yellow tights. That was back when the tights were that was back in 81 or 2. The tights were just becoming where girls wore them, and they were, you know how distance runners are going to run all over town when you go to a meet. They created quite a stir. I got my start in track and field. I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and I can remember when I was in junior high school, the newspaper was advertising a big track meet coming up that weekend, the Columbus Relays. And they were talking about how the defending champion for the last 4 or 5 years was Druid Hills High School, coached by Jimmy Carnes. But Carnes had just left to go to the University of Florida, so they weren't coming. So the highlight of this meet was going to be Cairo High School. Cairo High School was led by Billy Maxwell. Billy's here somewhere tonight. And lost my place here. I don't see as good. And Lewis Gainey, I don't know how I forgot Lewis. Lewis Gainey was a 22-foot long jumper back in 1959, 1960, and Billy was a 6'2", 6'4" high jumper, which that was back before the Fosbury technique, and those were tremendous high school marks. But I went to see that track meet to see these guys compete. I was kidding Billy about that a little bit before the banquet tonight. He's not really that old. What does I went on in 1965 and we threw the javelin in Georgia then, and I threw the javelin and won the Columbus relay, so I'll never forget that particular meet. What does it take to be a Hall of Fame coach? First off, family. Now, if my speech sounds a little bit like Lance's, I don't think he came in and looked at my speech, but every time he went to another thing, I said, that's the exact words I've got in mind. But I've never spent $10,000 on one meet before, though. The first, support your family. My wife, Jane, sitting over here. I couldn't have done it without Jane. She was always there to support me and take care of our children while I was raising everybody else's. Does that sound familiar, Lance? We've all done that. If we haven't, we will, don't worry. I'm gone recruiting. I'm gone to the Drake relays. I've gone to voluntary lifting practice on Sunday afternoon, volunteering for everybody but me. I've gone to the NCAA. Jane's home holding down the fort. I was gone when Jennifer, our daughter, ran in the Missouri State Cross Country Championship. Jane was there and I was gone. I was gone when my son Tally pitched his high school baseball team to the Missouri State Championship. He was the winning pitcher and they won 9-1. Where was I? Boise, Idaho. Looking at that blue football field. Jane was there. I was gone. Beside our family, we need mentors. We need people that look after us when we don't know what's going on. We're still learning. My mentor was Dean Hayes. There's no doubt in my mind that I would not be here today if Dean Hayes had not taken me under his wing, taken care of me when I needed help, was there for me and everything. Beginning even when I was an athlete at Lipscomb, we did a lot with middle. They had a bus, and we had rental cars, and so he would let us sometimes ride on his bus with his team. Talking about those stories. When I left the high school making $10,000 a year to take a job at Lipscomb. It was David Lipscomb University at the time, for $5,000. And plus, out of that $5,000, I had 2 children, and we bought a 15-passenger van to be the family vehicle so we would have something to travel in for the team. And besides that, then I would let the baseball coach, who was the athletic director, who controlled the budgets, he would give me money in my scholarship budget so he could use it to take baseball players with me. But everybody here will have a story like that, or has one, or it's coming. Everything is relevant. I was at it used to be the Dogwood Relays, now it's the Sea Relays, and the little coaches meeting the night before. And when I was coming up the steps, Florida State's big Greyhound bus was sitting out there. And I walked by and said, man, what would it be like to have your own Greyhound bus to travel all these meets? And that night inside the thing, Dick Roberts was complaining because Stan Huntsman had flown his team to Florida State for a meet a couple weeks before. So it's all relevant. But getting back to Dean Hayes, again, if I didn't know what to do, I'd call Dean. My assistant said, "What should I do about this, Coach?" I said, "Call Dean." But again, I want to thank Dean for the mentorship he gave for me. Also, a lot of other great coaches, and I know I'm going to leave some out, so don't get mad if I left you out. But Wayne Williams, I followed Wayne Williams at Austin Peay. We spent the summer in Venezuela, coaching Venezuelan athletes, and then we got back about a week before school started, and dominoes fell, and he went to Alabama, and I got his job at Austin Peay. So I spent the whole summer hearing about his athletes, so I was ready for that job. But Wayne was always there whenever I needed him also. George Williams. George and I go way back to the NAI. The national meet was in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. And George was just getting into coaching. George had the dream job. He was admissions counselor, financial aid director, and athletic director, I think. If you can't win with that combination. And also, he was an outstanding coach, an outstanding person. But George and I go, like I said, that night, I had noticed through the week his athletes were running in events in PE uniforms. And that night, there was a storm that blew through Arkadelphia, blew the pole vault and high jump pit completely out of the stadium. And so the meet was kind of called off for about an hour or two, and finally got it back together. We had the mile relay, and Georgia's team finished third or fourth in their physical education uniforms. And of course, you know how we are as track people sometimes when we become administrators. They were DQ'd for improper uniform. We just withstood a tornado, and we're just DQing people over their uniforms. But I've seen that happen before. But anyway, I was the chairman of the jury of appeals, and as soon as the meet was over, everybody scrambled, and the only jury member left was me. So George came to me and said, told me what was going on. I said, "George, I've seen your kids all week in those uniforms. I know they weren't trying to do anything, so they're back in." So from that point on, I've been George's buddy. The next thing you have to have is assistant coaches. One more thing, I'll go back. One of the big things Dean Haines taught me was when I first got into coaching, you can't make chicken salad without chicken. Now, he has a little bit more colorful rendition of that, but I won't go there. But you have to have athletes, and Dean taught me that. Now, he also taught me that if you have too many, you have to have animals to have a zoo, but if you have too many, you have animals to have a zoo, but if you get too many, you get a circus. Some of you've been there too. But the assistant coaches, I've been very, very fortunate. When I came to Southeast Missouri, we were Division II. We've been able to attract tremendous quality assistant coaches. And one of my things that I always tried to do was to surround myself with people smarter than I was. I felt like I had a better chance if I was the smartest guy in the van, we were in trouble. But some of the coaches and a lot of these people here that I've been blessed to have work with me at Southeast Missouri, and this is kind of an order, not an order of importance, but kind of the order of when you came. Steve Lemke, who's down at the University of Florida. Bill Gautier, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Beth Sullivan, who's been on the stage several times. She was in a couple of those pictures there, but you wouldn't have recognized her. But Beth was my distance coach for a year. And now it's Tennessee. John Riley at Virginia Commonwealth University, doing a great job there. Mike Hilliard wasn't one of my assistant coaches, but Mike's at Southern Indiana. He ran for us. Eric Haines, who's at University of Northern Arizona, is here tonight. Eric was our distance coach for a year, and I provided their Eric with his wife. He married one of my girls. So he married Casey and left town. But he's done a tremendous job there in northern Arizona. And Eric Crumpecker, Eric, I have to apologize to Eric. Even though I was a javelin thrower, Eric was my javelin coach. So he was the guy that I can't take credit for the javelin throwers that he produced. And he was with me 17 years. When I retired, he became the head coach of Southeast Missouri and doing a good job. It's great when you leave a place and they get better after you're gone. You want to think you were good, but I think it shows more of what you accomplish if it continues than if it fails. And of course, getting back to the chicken salad, you have to have athletes. We've been very, very fortunate to have great athletes at Southeast Missouri. Miles Smith, quarter miler, John Riley, who's, like I said, now coaching, but is a tremendous long jumper, triple jumper. Rob Thomas was a Division I All-American indoors. Terrence Branch was All-American outdoors in the 400, and plus just a lot of tremendous athletes. Some of the highlights, of our athletic. I don't have a watch, so my 4 minutes may be up, but I'm almost through. In 2006, when I came home from the NCAA National Track Meet, that was my last track meet. I took my watch off and hadn't worn a watch since. So I can't tell how many minutes I've been talking. But all they can do is not have me back. Some of the highlights of our track and field program at Southeast was in '84 at the Drake Relays. We won the in the college division. We won the 4x100, 4x200, 4x400, and sprint medley relay. And then finished second in the 4x1 mile relay, which was at Drake, it's college and university. So we were always fortunate at Southeast to have athletes in every event. We always had a complete program and continue that way. And also on the women's side, in 1997, our women made the finals of the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, and sprint medley relay. So anytime you do that well at the Drake Relays, you've done well. Another highlight was in 1985 or 6. We had 4 athletes in the same meet over 50 foot in the triple jump. 53, 53, 52, 50 foot. And will go down as one of the, and of course Helsinki, Finland in 2005 when I was able to travel with Miles Smith there, and he ran on the U.S. 4x400 relay team that won a gold medal. And the last highlight of this was, I guess, my swan song. But in 2008, the last year I coached, we went to New York City to run in the New Balance Indoor Championship. And we were in a 4x400 and had Miles in the open 4, which he won the open 4. And right before the meet, this is the highlight, not winning, but one of our guys, somebody stole his shoes. And we had Curtis Fry running all over the place trying to find a pair of shoes for my guy, so we could run against him in the mile relay, and which we won. But we had to beg our way in there because Southeast Missouri had never participated in that meet before. But that was a tremendous thing but I've been truly blessed way beyond what I deserve, way beyond what I ever expected. And again, I want to thank the Coaches Association for everything you do for track and field. Continue to do it. Get behind Curtis Fry as he's trying to work with him over in North Carolina, Wilmington, that just dropped the track program. Don't let them do it to us. Thank you very much.
Presenting the Hall of Fame award, Southeast Missouri head track and field and cross country coach Eric Krumpecker.